Welcome and thanks for joining us. The last 18 months have brought a lot of change to the federal workforce. Many agencies have adapted to new ways of working. They're rethinking how and where their employees work and what flexibilities they're offering to their workforce. They're juggling new diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives from the Biden administration, and they're often searching for data to guide their decisions about what comes next. At the same time, much of what we know about the federal workforce before the pandemic remains the same today. Less than 7% of the federal workforce is under the age of 30, and nearly one-third of federal employees will be eligible to retire next year. Many agencies have vacant or new positions to fill, and they're competing in an especially tough labor market for talent. And that brings me to my guests. Wayne Bobby is the vice president at Workday Federal, and Michelle Oltmans is a federal solutions strategist at Workday. Welcome to both of you. And I think to get us started here, we mentioned data at the beginning of this intro here. And I think a good way to enter this conversation for both of you is if you can walk me through why data is such a crucial element of the success of an organization, and how, from your perspective, federal agencies might think about the data that they already have and maybe some of the blind spots that they also have with that information as well. Wayne, why don't we start with you on this one?
Sure. So you're without data, without that source of truth, many agencies are afraid to make a decision or don't feel that they have what they need to make a decision. So in today's environment, and I've used this many times in the past, that a lot of these agencies are what I would describe as being data rich. They have a lot of data, but they're information poor. They don't have the information they need to make an informed decision. So in those cases, they stumble and are afraid to move forward with that. So your data is the key source for truth for you. And then you need to be able to establish the fact that you have confidence that you're making a decision based on informed data that's behind that. And then that as you act on that, that can achieve the results you're looking to achieve, right? And everything that's measurable then allows you to continue to get more confidence on how to move forward.
Michelle?
Yeah, and I would say, I was going to say, the sort of the next step of that is how do you take that data and take action from it, right? A lot of folks will bring data together and they'll put together a lovely dashboard and it tells me something, but it doesn't necessarily tell me the answer to the question that I need to answer in order to make that next decision. And so it's really not just how do we bring data together, but it's how does an agency bring together data in a meaningful way that then helps them take action, that helps them understand that there's a challenge or an issue or an opportunity that then they can, enact change within their organization based on that, on that data.
Right. And so are there any, when you look at the federal space at this point, and Wayne, you mentioned that many agencies, they have almost too much information and they don't necessarily know what to do with it. On the other side of that coin, I mean, do you see any blind spots that they might have as far as information about their workforce, things that maybe they would like to collect but they haven't been able to at this point?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is we talk about the employment gaps or the need to fill some of these critical jobs. Kind of moving ahead in the federal space. And I think that for many agencies, what they've started to do is kind of make that funnel bigger. So you're recruiting more candidates. And that's not the right answer, because if you recruit more candidates, all you're creating for yourself is more people to interview and to go through, taking up more time. You don't necessarily want a larger pool of candidates. You want to have a better pool of candidates. So you may actually have fewer candidates, but better candidates for the fit that you need. And then, so what do you know about the data we have in terms of people that have come to work here, that have stayed for 20 years or for a career, been successful? What do we know about those people? Okay, in terms of what causes those people to choose to work here and head on a career path that makes them successful. That's what you want to achieve, right?
Michelle, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think there is, there's this idea that we have a lot of demographic information. We know how many people we're hiring in an organization. We know how many people are leaving an organization. But again, it's sort of the pieces underneath of that that perhaps agencies aren't capturing today. As to, kind of getting to Wayne's point of why are people leaving? So if you have an organization or an agency where you've got a large number of folks that have left in the last 6 months, the question is, why is that? And I don't know that we always have in the federal government the why. We have the what. And so sometimes getting that why is sometimes challenging, especially in the federal environment where there's a lot of rules and regulations around how we hire, how we terminate folks within the organization, how we transfer and move folks around the government. But I think that's a place where some change could bring up, a lot of information to an agency to help them make a significant number of strategic decisions moving forward.
So Wayne, I loved what you said about hiring. That's often a refrain that I hear as well, in that agencies are bringing in so many candidates, so many applicants to just one job, and they're not necessarily coming out of that often long hiring process with really quality candidates that they think, again, to another point that you made, is a good fit for that organization based on what the organization knows about the kinds of people who succeed there and often do well there. Just pivoting this point just a little bit, are there maybe trends that you're seeing, successful practices that maybe federal agencies are using, or even other large organizations in using the existing data that they have to make decisions about their workforce? Any specifics that you might be able to provide would be great.
Well, I think the analytics are getting much better about these jobs. I think that the more you quantify, I think that helps too. So one of the things that I think that we do at Workday that we're starting to see other places too is taking the pulse of your workforce, on a regular basis. We do that every Friday to 14,000 employees. They get a survey. It only takes 5 minutes to fill out, but the company takes it very seriously. What is the pulse of the company? And they're asking different questions each week, but they go back to, do you feel like you're a part of something, that's significant? Do you feel like you belong? Do you feel like, you have, a way forward as a part of a career? Those things that we're all interested in. Now, if you're never asking those questions, then where are people's minds going that are in those jobs, right? So I think it's important to do that. And then also, I think that you can gather information, you can quantify that. But in addition to that, if you are having people leaving, I don't know, what the sense of this is in the federal government. I don't see a lot of this, or I don't see it really being quantified in terms of, are we conducting exit surveys with people who are leaving? Even those people that are retiring, say, hey, what would you suggest as we move forward and hire your replacement? What would be important things, for you if you weren't leaving the marketplace, federal marketplace, but instead you were entering the federal employment marketplace, right?
Michelle, anything to add there?
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing is that there is a little bit of a change sort of at a macro level in the job market now, where, the federal government used to be a place that folks would come and work, and they believed in that mission of the agency or organization that they went to work for, and they stayed there for a long period of time. And the reality is that's not the job market anymore. There's really, if you look at sort of millennials down to Gen Z to Gen Alpha, right? Moving careers, changing organizations, there's not a stigma attached to that anymore. They're looking for career growth and development. And so I think in a lot of ways, you have to think about bringing people into the workforce, maybe in a different way than you've done before. And that might just be, where are we looking for candidates? And maybe we need to be more aggressive as, as the federal government, as an employer, in looking for folks in the right places, right? Folks that are really engaged with mission, because that's also a really key element of this new sort of up and coming demographic in the job market, is they are all about mission and cause. And so there's so many great things that the federal government can offer to that group of individuals, but it's just a matter of sort of connecting the dots, right? This is the reason that you want to get involved with the federal government as an employer, because there are so many phenomenal opportunities available to you. It's just kind of finding those right resources, and then also understanding that you're competing now in that job market with a lot of industry as well. And so there's opportunities to streamline processes and to maybe move things a little faster here and there so that you can compete with those organizations.
Michelle, you brought up several really great points that I'd like to get to in our next segment, but we do have to take a quick break. My guests today are Wayne Bobby, Vice President at Workday Federal, and Michelle Oltmans, a Federal Solutions Strategist at Workday. And I'm your moderator, Nicola Grisco, on Federal Insights, Managing the New Hybrid Workforce, sponsored by Workday on Federal News Network.